My name's Mary Tobiason. I'd like to welcome you to Empowering Women in Business, brought to you by EMBAS, Executive Marketing and Business Advisory Services. Today we have an exciting panel for you. The purpose of our panels is to bring real life experience, real women from the business world who've been successful, who've been through their trials and tribulations and landed on their feet and created businesses that are strong and based on what we believe in, so empowering women. We have Lorraine Johannesson here today and Lorraine Herr. Lorraine is a life coach and a serial entrepreneur. She's been through many, many different industries with success and has finally come to where she feels she belongs. And Lorraine Johannesson has created an amazing business with Lorraine Johannesson home selling teams. She too has experienced so many different facets of business and finally got to where she needs to be. So what we hope we can do today is have you find something in our discussion that resonates with you, that might help you in your search for your true calling. So Lori, tell me a little bit about yourself, about how you got to where you are and what you're doing.
So I've been a realtor in Naperville and the surrounding suburbs for the last 20 years. I got into real estate because I was desperately seeking something that I was passionate about. I got out of college not knowing what I wanted to be when I grew up, got a business in the corporate world and realized it wasn't truly the best fit for me. And just going back and looking at who I was as a person, I struggled to learn and embrace things that I wasn't truly interested in. And I was happy to have found real estate as something that just deep down inside, the second when I realized it was the right fit for me, it's been, even good and bad days have turned into just reminding me why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I'm happy to be a realtor in this community for so long.
Wonderful. And Lorraine, I have had the pleasure of knowing you and watch you excel on so many different levels over the years. And now that you are in this role as a life coach, as a mentor, being able to take all the knowledge that you've accrued from the different facets of your life and share with other women, I'm extremely excited to see how some of the elements that you have studied apply to the way Lori has found success. So tell me a little bit about your background and how you came to be a life coach.
Thank you for having me here today, Mary. It's an honor to be on this show with you and Lori. I have had a long career in corporate as well as founding another business. I've served on boards of directors of publicly held companies, privately held companies, and not-for-profit corporations. And it really has taken me on a very interesting journey. I've got over 25 years of experience working and developing people that have been on my team, and I have found that very rewarding. And I've made a pivot later in my career towards becoming a life coach, and I've found that I've got just a wealth of history and knowledge to draw on, and as well as some constructs and formulas and theories for how things go together and how we can optimize our professional lives and our personal lives to be more fulfilling and to be more authentic and to be more rewarding.
Excellent. One of the conversations that I had with you that resonated so strongly with me was when we talked about the 4 elements of the human experience, being circumstances, thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, and how identifying those can help you view your situation differently and find the path that you were meant to pursue. When we had that conversation, I thought of Lori. Lori has excelled and now is, she has this real estate group that she runs that is so successful. And I know that many of the elements that you prescribe, she has capitalized on in a very positive way. And I'd like you guys to talk about how those 4 elements of the human experience have helped Lori and the way she has dealt with them, the way she's incorporated them into her success could potentially help other women.
No, that's a great question. So let me kick off and outline the framework. And Lori, I would love to hear how this has impacted your business and how you've worked with the 4 categories of human experience as you've launched your company, grown your company, and seen the success that you have. So it's helpful to like back up and think about this framework. There are really 4 categories of human experience. The first one is your circumstances. And so these are generally pretty easy to agree upon. It's, the physical location that you're in, like this isn't ambiguous, the time of day, the weather, those kinds of things. And many times your circumstances can drive or influence your thoughts. So you could have thoughts about where you are, what you're doing, what your job is. And depending on what those thoughts are, those in turn can drive your emotions, like how you're feeling. And how you're feeling actually will wind up driving the 4th category of human experience, which is your behavior. And so I think like the shorthand for explaining this is imagine that you're a woman and it's sleeping in your bedroom and it's a beautiful bedroom. But instead of thinking about the circumstances of where you are, you're worried that your stock portfolio is going to tank. So you've got this thought that the market's going to crash and it's going to impact your investment. And so that thought then drives how you're feeling, which is anxious and unsettled. And then that feeling winds up driving your behavior, which is you can't sleep. So ironically, like your behavior, not being able to sleep, has nothing to do with your circumstances, which is you're in a comfortable, warm, protected bedroom, but your thoughts are really driving your behavior in this situation. So Lori, tell us a little bit about how the 4 categories of human experience have impacted the business that you've been able to build in real estate.
Well, thanks, Lorraine, and I appreciate what you do. Especially, I value coaches a great deal. I obviously know Mary, who's an incredible triathlon coach, and I've had different coaches throughout my real estate career. So I like that you take a whole different approach and are making me think of how I got to where I am as a result of these 4 elements. I think of circumstance as, I grew up in a household where my dad went to work every day and my mom raised the 4 children. And I always, watched my family struggle, and I wanted to be in a position to where as a female, I could help provide for my family someday and to contribute as a whole. So I constantly searched for a circumstance, in my opinion, that would allow me to do something that I would love equally as being able to raise my children. So is that the same, or am I completely off the element?
No, I think it's a really fascinating and spot on example, because your circumstance, what you saw growing up was that your father went to work every day and your mother stayed home and raised the kids. And so, how do you process that circumstance to kind of change your thoughts about the type of role you could have as a mother?
So it's just, I wanted to find something that I could be extremely passionate and care a lot about. And that is what has resonated with me over the years, and it's amazing how long I've been doing this. And I still love every day being able to help people accomplish their real estate goals, whether it's their first home, their move up home, or, downsizing. I'm so happy to be a part of their life experience and to be able to share with my girls what I'm able to do and why they have to go to school and work really hard so they too can someday have a job they love as well.
I love that you brought to the forefront that circumstances don't have to be the immediate, that it can be something from the past. So you bring that in and you can absorb really impactful circumstances or mundane circumstances. So I think that's something that we need to recognize, that circumstances that are major events, let's call them macro events, and micro events. So it might be something as simple as where you're sitting right now, or that situation, the circumstances that you grew up in, that gave you a thought process that led to behaviors down the road.
One of the things that I loved about what Lori had shared with me earlier that follows that vein, Mary, is that, we know that Lori has this macro circumstance of her family life when she was younger, but she's been able to really dive back and to also recognize, when she was younger, she loved going to friends' homes and like checking out their spaces and what they were like. But it wasn't until you were older, Mary, that you made the connection to that earlier behavior and interest to your current real estate position. Can you talk a little bit more about how that circumstance when you were younger and that experience when you were younger impacted where you wound up picking your professional career?
Yeah, so it was interesting once I realized what I wanted to be when I grew up, and how everything goes back to a child. Like as a child, I loved getting to walking around my friends' houses. It told the story of their life. In college, I loved to tour new construction, and I dreamed of to build a home someday. And I'd sit and draw pictures and think maybe someday I'll be an architect. Wasn't a good fit for me. And so when I was helping and looking at houses with now my husband, is when it hit me like, this is what I meant to do. I want to use my master's degree, which is small business management and a focus on strategy and negotiations, to build a real estate business that is the best it can possibly be to serve a client. When we were looking at homes, we were all over the suburbs, from the really far south to the really far north, without any really clear direction or guidance, or even asked if we were even pre-approved. But it was just definitely a feeling I got that this is what I meant to do. And I was excited to get it started. And here I am today.
So Lori, it's been really interesting hearing about how your real estate business has evolved. And, I've heard you talk a little bit about how your thought process needed to change in order to help your business grow. And sometimes our thoughts are so natural, we just assume that they're true. But you were really deliberate in your thinking and analytical in your thinking and understood what was happening with your thoughts, and seemed to have a very clear view that how you were thinking would impact how you were feeling and the actions that you were taking. I'd love to hear more about how that process worked with you expanding and growing your business.
And Lori, having the pleasure of knowing you, I am aware that you were in the real estate business for a lengthy period of time prior to starting your own home selling team. And I know that there were pivotal thoughts that enabled you to leave and follow your heart, be master of your own domain, and actually make a move so that you were in control. And I'd be really interested to hear how those thoughts too contributed to your success and really being able to create the environment that you flourish in, and that you control.
Yes. So my initial thoughts as my business was growing is I want to be the best I possibly can be for all my clients. And so being very experienced and knowing the industry very well and how to handle all the different situations that could possibly be thrown my way in order to best serve my clients. As I grew, I knew I needed to leverage myself. So I initially joined another team that I thought was the answer to make sure that I had all the right players in place to allow me to help even more people, because that's always my goal, is to be able to help as many people as I can possibly help that will still give them an excellent client experience. And so when I was in the previous experience and I realized really early on it didn't feel right in my heart. As much as I wanted it to work because I was getting some help, it wasn't true to who my long-term goals, my values, and what I foresaw my business growing in the direction it was. And so after many years of being scared to make a change, I took a leap of faith. I decided to start my own team, which was extremely scary. It was amazing, and I know this sounds quirky. I found signs within the universe that told me this is what you should be doing. Of course, there's always the ones that are like, don't go that way. But I just knew which was to create a business that would allow other people to come and surround me and be a part of the experience I was having, and to allow them to grow and for us all to be better together, because it's not just about me, it's about what I can do for other people and all the people on my team. The other agents on my team, then I'm able to train and help them grow, which has been so exciting over this past year to watch them grow and be successful. My transaction coordinator, to be able to do more things in her role than she's ever been able to do before and tell me that she's happy. My marketing director, to have grown in an area that she didn't realize she could, is extremely fulfilling. Meanwhile, this is happening on the back end, but on the outside world, my clients are all receiving a level of service that they've never received in the past, and I'm seeing it through my reviews I'm getting online. And so, while still scary, and while there's still ups and downs, and there will be people who come and go from my team, I'm able to create an experience and a business that I someday can pass down to my children or somebody else to continue to live on as a legacy, which is something that's super important to me.
So Lori, that it's such a powerful story, and it reinforces the 4 categories of human experience so perfectly, because you talk about this knowing and this sense that you can do more, and it feels scary. So like that emotion is scary, but it spoke to you, the universe spoke to you, as sometimes unbelievable as that may sound, and it influenced your behavior to make a change, to start your own practice, to hire your own team. And then you can see how your emotions influence the behavior, which then come full circle and influence the circumstances, which is now you have clients that are receiving a level of service that they have not been able to get before. You're building a business that can be a legacy business to pass down to your children. And the cycle continues, right? That influences your thoughts, which influence your new, emotions and feelings and behaviors. And so it's so helpful to hear your story from that perspective.
Yeah, it is scary, and I want more than anything for people to follow their heart and do what they love, not just have a career because they think it's going to make them all this money. And, every real estate isn't for everybody. A lot of people think, I'm going to get into real estate and I'm going to make all this money. Well, it takes a lot of time, and you have to spend a lot of money to make a lot of money. And there's all sorts of careers where you can probably make a lot more. But it works for me because I'm passionate about every single one of my clients and making sure that they're happy and being directed in the right way that's for them. And so, I see too often people stuck in careers they're really unhappy in because they're afraid of change. And so if I can do nothing more than set the example of, change is scary, and, I've fallen a few times. It hurts, but in the end, life is short, and you need to do something that you love.
Yeah, and I think it's it's great too, especially earlier in your career. You did have the sense that you were maybe not in the right spot, and so to be able to connect to that authenticity and to be able to powerfully move your way through the 4 categories of human experience is just a great testament to the ability to succeed when you're being authentic.
Well, and to you as a life coach, and to be able to help other people who maybe aren't, want to do it but are scared, but being able to help talk somebody through it it's such a valuable profession that is so often missed. And a lot of people think they don't need a coach, that they'll be fine. But if you look at any major athlete, they're all coached. They wouldn't be who they are if they weren't coached. And any good team isn't as good as they would be without the right coach and the right people around them. And I think sums up a lot of what we've all talked about today.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I want to say a big amen to that. And life coaching and the coaching that I've received have impacted my life, in very, very profound ways. And it is a joy and an honor and kind of my deepest calling to be able to take what I've learned and be able to coach other people in turn. And I want to also just acknowledge Mary because as my personal trainer and coach, like she has just transformed my life in ways that I never could. And so Mary's taken me through the change process, the four categories of human experience, and helping me to understand that, the way I think about working out impacts the way my emotions about it, which impact my behavior, which impact, what my body is looking like and how healthy I'm feeling as a result of that. So Mary, you've been just a true coach and friend and just a wonderful mentor in improving my own health and fitness.
Well, thank you. And I think this kind of encapsulates what we're all about. It's women empowering women and women who empower each other in business. So we certainly emulate that. And with that being said, if each of you had one piece of advice or a billboard that you could put up for the whole world to see that would get your mission statement across, or maybe that one piece of advice that you want everyone to learn from you, what would that be, Lori?
Never give up. Work hard, and it's worth it. Nothing in life comes easy.
So my one piece of advice echoes what Lori has said throughout this presentation, and that is life is short. And so that's why I named my coaching practice, Why Wait? Thrive Now Life Coaching. So get somebody that you trust, get somebody that you respect, get somebody that inspires you, and work with them on, buying that dream house, signing up and doing that triathlon, or talking about your life with a life coach.
Great information. Well, I thank you both so very much for being here today. I know that there are women out there that will take this information and make some changes, like little tools you put in your toolbox and pull out for later. So I thank you both. I appreciate you, and I look forward to working with you both down the road.
You too, Mary.
Thank you, Mary.